Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. A couple of people on here already waiting for me, which is awesome. And we'll see who joins us here in a minute. Hello. This is a topic people seem to be very interested in, so I'm excited to teach about it today. Chat disconnected. That makes me very nervous. Hopefully this is working well. Let's see. I just restarted everything, so it should be good to go, but let's see. Can you read this? Let's see what happens. Okay, well, the chat may or may not work today. It doesn't look like it's working. If anyone can hear me, can someone give this a thumbs up, like the video, so I can see that you guys can hear me and that this is working okay. Because I have no other way to know that this is working and is live. Okay, well, let's see. No thumbs up are coming. That makes me nervous. Is this working? I'm going to get on my phone and see if I can get on this video here and see if it's working. I'm sorry for the hiccups here, but I don't want to be doing this video if it's not working. Let's see. So either it's not working or no one is giving me a thumbs up. So I don't know. Let's see if I click into it. It's working. Okay, so my computer is not doing chat, but you guys are doing chat. And I see myself on my phone doing it live. Okay, great. So this is going, it should be recording, or at least you guys are on here. I can see myself on my phone, which I probably should not be watching because that seems confusing. Okay, perfect. Sorry, everyone. I can't actually see your chat on my phone, so feel free to chat, I suppose. And I will just keep my phone down here beside me. Welcome, welcome people. Glad that you got on. Thanks for the patience of the little rough start here. Okay, we are going to be talking about addictions today. I've been relaxing after work, which means I will start yawning once I start ramping myself up again. So sorry about that. I will see how this works. Okay, so addictions. There is a lot we could talk about this. What I've chosen to do today is really give some major ideas. So each of the different, there's some generalities that I'm going to speak to in terms of, for example, B vitamin deficiency can cause a dependence on alcohol, especially beer, because the body is trying to get B vitamins from the fermented grains. So there's a few things like that that I'm going to speak in generalities, but do know that every single addiction has a pathway for the physical manifestation of why that's there. So let me back up. I'm jumping ahead. My idea for today is to give some big picture ideas of what does it mean to have an addiction? Why is it happening? What can we do about it? We are gonna wander in some different thought processes, the physical being one, emotional being another, and lots of aspects of that. So that is the plan for today. All right, so number one, to get started. I know the sections. I'm trying to think how to tie them together. This is how I start any appointment for people who come in and want to stop smoking or stop, whatever their behavior is. These are not just for the harmful behaviors like smoking or being an alcoholic or anything like that. These are for anything that you are trying to, that you seem very dependent on. Sugar. Sugar, for example, is an addiction. People who have been addicted to sugar and cocaine say that sugar is more addicting than cocaine. So there is a lot of things that we as a society are addicted to. So don't just think like those far off addictions or I don't have an addiction. Number one, we probably all do have things that we're addicted to, but why? So today I really want to talk about the but why part of that. Why is that addiction there? Why can't we do something different? And that is why we're going to go both into some physical aspects and understanding, or basically just understanding there are physical aspects is my main goal, and then go into the emotional aspects as well. Okay, so when people sit down in an appointment and they know that they want to work on some type of addiction, what the first thing or soon first thing that I say is, I understand and believe that everything we do is for a logical reason. There's a reason why you're doing a behavior and why you can't stop doing a behavior. That is the premise we're working on. Not, I think you could stop if you wanted to. I think you just eat donuts because you want to be fat. I know I'm being rude, but that's not at all what I believe. Those are illogical. I say them in a rude way to kind of contrast the ludicrousness of that idea. Who wants to be fat? Who wants to be underweight? Who wants to be tired walking up a flight of stairs because they can't go run at the gym? Like, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. No one is fat or overweight or under working out less because they want to be lazy or they want to be, whatever negative things you can come up with. That's not at all what's happening. It's not what I believe is happening. It is not how I approach any kind of support for anyone. And if people are approaching that, or if people are approaching that with themselves, if you're approaching yourself by just yelling at yourself to stop being lazy, get off the couch and go to the gym, it's not working. Do you know why? There's a logical reason for why you're not doing a behavior that you're doing, or why you are doing a behavior that you're doing. So we need to dig into those and push aside that we're taught to be judgmental, right? We need to push that aside because it's not true. It's not what's going on. Okay, so number one, there's a logical reason that you're doing everything that you are doing. There's a logical reason why you're eating a lot of sugar because you're craving it, because you have overgrowth of yeast, for example. There's a logical reason why an alcoholic drinks a lot of alcohol, because they are deficient in B vitamins and their body is trying to get and correct the B vitamins deficiency. There is a reason why certain medications, drugs, legal and illegal, all these different things are used. It's because our neurotransmitters are messed up or there's a deficiency. So I was first introduced to this concept actually from Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride with the GAPS diet. She was, what was she talking about? She was talking about the neurotransmitter balance and the idea of why addictions are so common in people with GAPS syndrome. And here is what she talks about. She talks about that we are innately born with a knowledge that we should be able to be in a place of happy and joyful contentedness. There are hormones that are supposed to be made: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, the other one I can't think of right now, that you get for runner's high. Those things all come at us or are meant to be released actually fairly easily. You get a good grade on your school report and you should get a rush of pride. You should have a contentedness. You should feel a satisfaction. Those are all normal things. When that's not happening, your body or that body knows there's something missing, but it doesn't know what it is because you're 5, right? Or 10 or 12. And then you get into school, friend situation, whatever, you try pot, whatever it is, all of a sudden you feel this rush of endorphins and your body's like, that's what we're made for. And it latches onto that. It's not just the fact that that gives you a rush of endorphins. It's that a lot of people have not experienced that and they're supposed to have. So logically, the body says, We're supposed to feel that. That does the thing. Keep doing that behavior. There's no weirdness in that. That's completely logical. That has nothing to do with any kind of negative thoughts or names, right? That's totally logical. So that really introduced me to this idea of, oh, okay, there is a reason why people are doing things. There's a reason why I always said I struggle with a highly addictive personality. Thankfully, I didn't do any really destructive things to my health, unless you count a lot of screen time as destructive, but I just knew that about myself. And as I learned more, I realized, oh, of course, my dopamine and serotonin, especially when I was growing up, they couldn't be very high. I was not well enough for my endocrine system to be ever in a happy state, especially for sustained periods of time or in small amounts. I share this not because I want pity or whatever. It is helpful for people to understand. And I just, want you to know if you're experiencing addictions or behaviors or habits you can't change. I get it. I've lived this road, and that's why I have so much to think and say about it. Number two, for people who haven't really experienced that, but their kids are experiencing that, or their kids are really young and aren't explaining it, but you're just like, why is my kid just kind of morose? Like, it's a happy life, and I give them lots of love, and they eat food, and you're not neglecting your child. You're not neglecting your child. There's something off in their body, in their gut, that they are not able to properly make neurotransmitters. So the normal balance is not working. It's correctable, and that's what we talk about with the physical aspect of this. It is very correctable to figure out what's going on. Sometimes we specifically need to know, but most of the times we just generally need to know. We need to do fermented foods. We need to eat more cholesterol to make hormones. We need to get toxins cleared up so that they're not overwhelming the system in a down spiral as opposed to a free, open, relaxed place. So there's lots of things we can do. And then sometimes we need to know specifics. Not usually, though, which is why we're not mostly going to talk about them today. Okay, great. Sorry. All of a sudden, my thing was spinning out. I was worried that my reception was lost again. All right, so number one, there's a logical reason, a physical and or emotional logical reason for everything you do. So big ticket items for that. What do we need to make hormones? What do we need to do a hormone cascade? We need, first, cholesterol. All of our what are called the category of sex hormones. So that is progesterone, I'm looking at my thing, DHEA, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, aldosterone, all the estrogens, progesterone. Those are all made from cholesterol. Cholesterol starts and then they branch out. That is just one aspect. Those things do steady us, help us to be in a balanced place. So think about women, what happens often? We get an estrogen dominant place in our world usually because of factors. What happens when you're estrogen dominant? You create thick linings, you are moody, you're hormonal, you have weight gain, you have headaches. All of those things are estrogen symptoms. Well, that's going to cause some logical patterns. You are going to, your body is telling you to slow and be stopped. That doesn't mean it's the best for it, but it's a signal that's happening. So logically, you're going to be slow. It's going to be hard to move. You're not going to be able to lose weight very easily or even be gaining, which may actually push you into other behaviors like overindulging or doing more gym than you should, more working out, or under eating, which will actually make the whole thing worse. So again, there's always a root. If we connect the estrogen, guess what happens? Your weight balances out, you're motivated to go to the gym, you don't have to overeat, and you want to move, and you're going to be excited to do life and to engage with things. Okay, so that is one example of what can get off there. If we don't have enough testosterone, if men don't have enough testosterone, that causes all sorts of problems. They have decreased muscle mass, they can't work out, or they're sore forever. Their muscle, they can't put on muscle mass, or they are losing it actually. Testosterone, think about what a high testosterone man does. in the bedroom, right? So that if that doesn't happen, how many other hormones don't get released either, right? So then there are patterns and difficulties that can be fallen into both for men and women, because the normal way to get some boost of those hormones are not present. What about running? You get runner's high. Not everyone apparently does. I just learned this. I am not a person that gets runner's high, but people get runner's high. That's genetically, apparently, you're predisposed. Like it's a bad thing, but some people tend to get runner's high a lot easier than others. So if you do that, but you can't run for whatever reason, what's going to happen? A lot of things are going to happen. It's going to be a problem. And then you aren't going to get your happy hormone release, which is correct. It's not wrong to be happy. It is right to be happy. Not every second, not at the we don't hurt other people for our own happiness, right? But it's not wrong to be happy, content, and peaceful. Those are all good. We're designed for those, and it's right to be there. So when those aren't happening, our body is going to seek for them to happen. What are things that do it? Drugs, alcohol, sex, risky behaviors, adrenaline rushes. There we go, adrenaline. Adrenaline rushes, skydiving, right? None of those are bad things, but if they are being pushed into a box because there's a lack, then there's a problem. Not stop doing the behavior, but why is there a lack? So, why is there a lack? In general, the things that are a lack is, number one, we don't have enough food, period. A lot of people are under eating nutrition. Nutrition is super important to our bodies to rebuild, to make things, to make hormones. So sometimes you just aren't eating enough, or your gut is not absorbing enough. So this could be a stomach acid issue, a digestive enzyme issue, a bile gallbladder flow issue. You could have leaky gut, you're not absorbing food properly. You could have decreased crypts in between, like a flat gut lining instead of tons more surface area. You could have a microbiome that is very little, and so it's not digesting food properly. All those things could be happening to you to make food not be in your body where it's useful and helpful to your body. You may be missing an important cofactor. You may have everything that you need in terms of protein, but you're not eating enough vitamin A to synthesize it and to put it into practical use in the body. So there's lots of things that can go wrong in terms of that. Number one thing is move to real food and away from chemicals, which, by the way, are messing with those hormones that are already out of whack. Just uncomplicate things. So take all the fake food out. Go to real food, including grains. That's step one. Grains like breads and pastas. Now, don't do a ton of those because they also have a huge hormone effect. But for step number one, we get rid of the fake and concentrate on real. That's the first delineation. Some people, that's all they need. Their body doesn't crave a lot of bread. It's in a fairly balanced place. It was just being assaulted by those chemicals, phytoestrogens, neurodisruptors. Who knows? If you get them out, then you don't have to deal with them. It's amazing how much will change just because of that. The liver isn't so overwhelmed. It now can focus on things like producing the hormones that you would like it to produce that make you happy and contented. So number one, we get the fake stuff out and we focus on real food. Number two, if you've got gut issues, fix them, right? GAPS diet, of course, is amazing. Sometimes you don't need to go that full bore, but often you do. You can practice GAPS, which is starting to do meat, stock, and animal fat and fermented foods, but with the goal of eventually going to the exclusive GAPS protocol for really deep healing, especially if addictions are a big deal for you, you probably need to do GAPS. My addictive tendencies are significantly less and less often manageable. Like, I like binge watching TV just like everybody else, but it's not, my hormones tend to be pretty happy. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm pretty motivated. That's always was my personality. but now I have the energy and the support physically to do the things that I was wired to do. So it is a very big difference. Okay. Number 1, fake food out, real food in. Number 2, move towards GAPS diet. Number 3, potentially specifically figure out what is going on. And there are lots of ways to do this. Most of them are fairly expensive. I know some things, you can research some things. There's books like Why the Face, or what else do I use? I don't know. There's some really good, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know there are authors that have written good addictive physical addiction books. Researching it, what does it mean? What nutritional deficiencies are in blank addiction? So if you have a particular substance, or alcohol, for example, is a great example. If you search vitamin deficiency in alcoholism, you will have a ton of research about it. Do you know what? If you correct that deficiency, it will be a lot easier to break the then habit of it, because there's 2 parts to an addiction. 1, we're trying to physically fill an aspect that's missing. 2, there's a habit. You change habits all the time. It's hard, but it's doable, right? You decide you want to get up a little bit earlier, or you don't turn your snooze on your alarm off. If you can't manage to change your habit for those sleeping things, there's a reason for that too, but you drink more water, you whatever, right? So there are habits that aren't your particular difficulty. You just decide, I'm going to have juice instead of soda, or whatever, right? You can change habits, and it was fine. Those are habits. Anything that you can't change the habit, there is a physical or emotional reason that is keeping and paired to the habit. If we can fix this, the habit then can change. Some can change overnight because it's not too big a deal. Other ones take the normal 2 weeks to 2 months. Whatever it is that it takes to change a habit that the experts say, right? So it's just the behavior change, right? So someone who's smoking, there's 2 things. There's 1, a physical reason why they're doing that. Nicotine calms you down. There are particular hits of chemicals that trigger your neural pathways and neurotransmitters. Whatever it is, there's a physical reason, and there's when I get up in the morning, I go out and smoke. Well, that's a habit, not a need, right? So you can find something else to do in the morning once the physical reason for needing nicotine is gone. This is a lot easier to change. Hopefully that makes sense. There's 2 parts to that. Okay. That's my train of thought. Oh, so sometimes we need to specifically figure out what is going on to correct it. Again, many times just eating real food and taking out the chemical crap is all you need. Sometimes you need to do gut healing work, which has to happen first, and then you can do a specific nutrient. Sometimes you can fudge the specific nutrient in there, but if your gut's bad, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to fix the gut. Perfect. I know. I'm always going to talk about GAPS diet because that's what I do. Okay. Emotional aspect next. I want to talk about that. So sometimes there's a physical reason. Sometimes there is an emotional reason. What is I'm trying to think of a basic thought about that. So, okay, let's take a scenario. Let's talk about sleep, and then we'll go because it's kind of a bridge. So let's say sleep or exercise. That is a habit you are trying to input. The, I guess, quote, bad habit would be that you sit on the couch or you don't go exercise or walk the dog. And the good habit is you are more active. Okay, instead of just saying that you are lazy, get off the couch, what if we say there's a reason why you're not going out to walk the dog or work out? So let's just assume you're doing something logical for a good reason. Okay, so then we walk into, what is that reason? Let's be curious about that. Let's say your adrenals are really tired because you're a mom of 4. You're exhausted. You haven't slept for the last 10 years. That seems like a good reason to not go work out and expend energy in exercise when it's actually going to put you into a stress response, which will cause you to gain weight, which is super discouraging and not helpful. And you don't actually accomplish any goal and you're just more tired. That sounds pretty logical to me to not work out, right? I see that all the time with moms. Working out hard is not the right thing to do when you are utterly exhausted. Eating good food and getting your body strengthened and helping your kids to sleep by giving them calcium or whatever they need, that is going to be the first thing to focus on. And then, do you know what? When you have energy, you want to move. It may be a little bit of habit change. Yes, you want to watch 3 hours of Netflix, but instead you take 20 minutes and you go walk around the block. Like, there can be a habit change. But to physically not be able to, or it's so exhausting or draining, or you get done and you have to take a 2-hour nap, people all the time come in and say, I don't exercise as much as I want to, in an apologetic way. And I say, why? What happens when you exercise? Oftentimes there is a reason. I'm just too tired. I feel nauseous. I can't catch my breath. They are feeling guilty about not doing something that hurts their body. This is how illogical our nation has gotten, our culture has gotten about this, because we deny that we just label people as lazy and, bad or whatever. Instead of going, I believe there's a reason you're doing your things. You're doing the best you can. So how can I help you insert a different component into the equation so you can do a different thing? So I tell those moms, you are chasing after a 2-year-old, number one. You're moving plenty. Stop feeling guilty about it. Number two, you are tired. Your body's tired. We have to feed it. We have to get you to sleep. We have to get rest, right? And it naturally follows that as you have more energy, you move more. There's no willpower that has to be inserted or that you have a lack of when you are not able to change a behavior. This is pure and simple. Something is going on. Now, sometimes that something is going on is emotional. For example, what happens if you believe that you are tired, because you are, but if you did something? So I've recently been trying to study my own thoughts about reading books, intellectual, or like this shelf of books right here. Why am I not reading these books? I'm very excited to read, but I'm just not. I'm avoiding it. It's too much. Well, when I finally got down to the bottom of it, at least one of the main reasons that I am not reading more of my intellectual, neurotransmitter, The Invisible Rainbow, all these amazing books I'm so excited about reading, because my body feels, my thoughts feel that I already have so much knowledge that I feel so responsible to share. If I read more, I will have more knowledge, and I don't think I can handle that. That's a really logical reason to not do it. So instead of being like, oh my gosh, I failed my book club people again, I'm actually evaluating, is that correct? Or that I need to slow down? Do I need to evaluate? I do have a lot of things. Are things slipping out? Am I getting excited and passionate, because I do, about things that aren't maybe the most important? Am I wasting some time to chase after things that are exciting but not as important as kind of pushing towards my main goal right now, and I can read those books later? So that's option number one for me. Option number two for me would be, am I afraid unnecessarily? Am I taking more responsibility on than I have? If I know all of these information, does that mean I have to spout all of it every second that I'm talking, and there just aren't enough hours in the day to say all the things I know? That kind of starts ringing of a over responsibility complex, that I'm responsible for it. You know what? Someone else could read the book. I don't have to tell them, right? So in either way, there's a logical reason. I'm probably closer to the second one. I haven't really had time to go further into that, particularly right now. But that's probably what it is. So there is a lie that I'm believing, that I am responsible to teach more things than I am. Right? I am not responsible to solve the world's problems or to teach everyone who I ever meet everything I know. That you start saying it in those, and I'm like, I probably believe that's true, and that's definitely not true. So then there are lie-based beliefs. So a lie-based belief is something that we can look at. There's a couple different avenues, and I talk about this in other things like emotionally caring for your kids, and it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I've thrown it at other times, but there are a couple different techniques that I've learned that help you walk through your lie-based beliefs, things that feel true but aren't actually true the way it works. It may feel true that everyone at school hates you, but it's probably not true. Most kids aren't even thinking of you at all. Some kids really like you and maybe are shy. So there's lots of things, right? We understand that concept. So when there's a lie-based belief, we can address it. Parts work, or IFS, internal family systems, is one thing that I love. Another one is called TPM, transformational prayer ministry. Those are both excellent ways to get to the bottom of what is the thing that I actually believe. And then we talk about it. You talk about it with God, or you talk about it with your parts. Depends on which thing you're using. Opposite of what the order I said. Okay, so there's a reason. If you believe, like I do, something, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly what I believe, right? But something along the lines of, if I exercise, I will be too skinny, like my mom who is anorexic, and then I will be unhealthy. So I better not exercise because then it will be better. My mom is not anorexic. That is logical. We haven't thought through it. Usually when you actually think through it, you're like, oh, well, that's not true. But part of you believed that. A young part of you probably decided that that was a safe thing. I just watched my friend, this is all fake. I watched my friend who's anorexic when I was 12 go through that. And the thing she did was exercise incessantly. So if I exercise, I'm going to be just like her. And so I'm not going to do that. Logical, helpful. It's trying to be helpful, right? Yourself is trying to be helpful. But it's not fully true. If you over-exercise, that is a problem. If you exercise some, that's actually really good, right? So there often are things there. Now, that's a really direct correlation of emotions. There are also indirect correlation of emotions. If you believe no one likes you still as an adult, not in school times, maybe it got established in school, but now as an adult still, you're like, I don't know why people are around me. Clearly no one likes me. I'm not lovable. Whatever, some kind of belief like that, or I'm never going to be well. I'm defined my disease. There's no hope for me. I'm hopeless. I'm going to be in pain until the day I die. Whatever those are, isn't it make sense to do something to numb that pain? That's logical. If you, right, classic country song, lost the girl, drinks himself to death, right? That's logical. There are other things you can do, but it's not like it's illogical. You're not like, how did you get there? It's like, oh, you have pain, you numb the pain. That makes sense. We would choose something else, and we often skip that part. We skip that it's logical to this is what you should do instead because it's clearly bad. Can we just stop a moment and go, man, you're hurting. I'm sad with you. We can do that with each other, and we can do that with ourselves. Are there things that you have not acknowledged in yourself that are really painful? Is there something, either a memory or a lie-based belief, that lie-based belief, that comes up right before you drink or you scroll Facebook? That's a big one for me and for a lot of us, right? You get on social media, and I've started going, how did I get here? Okay, I'm now scrolling Facebook, which means I was hurting. So then I stop and I think, what did I feel right before I started scrolling Facebook? I was feeling overwhelmed and like I couldn't handle or whatever. It's usually overwhelmed for me. So then I checked out. I was like, I can't handle this. If this goes on, it'll be too much. And so I'm just going to stop it. That's logical. What I can do instead of scrolling Facebook and spending 2 hours there, I can go and look at, why do I feel overwhelmed? Sometimes the answer is physical. You need to eat more. That happens a lot to me. I need more liver. I need more fish oil. I need more whatever, right? So sometimes it is a under-resourcing physically of food or rest. Go to sleep. Go to sleep by 11. That's really important for my body, especially when I'm starting to feel worn down. So get to sleep at the latest 11. Maybe it is, you know what, I'm just really sad and feeling lonely. Okay. Is there someone you can talk to about that? Can you talk to God about that? Can you care for yourself if maybe that lonely part is actually 5 and watching what she thought was her best friend go have a conversation with another best friend and decided that she was going to be alone, right? We can have things in our past that come forward, like that made up situation, or we can have current situations of, you know, it's been a while since I've talked to someone or had a movie night, and I should just call someone up and see if someone's available to hang out this weekend. Or can I call my grandma on the phone, you know, someone who's available to chat no matter what time it is. So that is going to be super helpful. You then can fill what's needed, what's lacking. Loneliness, feeling alone is what's needed. Facebook does not cure loneliness. We all know that. But it does give certain endorphin hits and dopamine hits, and it makes you feel better. But the real thing you need is companionship or care or understanding or whatever it is that you're missing. Grief. You may just need to grieve about something and you're avoiding it. So whatever that is, that's what you need to do. That's what will fix it. And then you don't have to scroll Facebook because it's not needed anymore. You've actually brought yourself back to fulfillment and balance. I don't say fulfillment because that's not quite, but fullness and balance. There we go. That's the word I want. So, wow, I feel like I'm ending that really abruptly, but that's kind of it. So let me say again, in every behavior that you do, I believe that you are doing it for a logical reason and that you are doing the best that you can. If there is something missing or lacking or needs changed, it would be good for you to figure out what that is. And then you can work on the habit changes that may be needed. Many habits change on their own just by default of the thing not being there anymore. If you, for example, are not exercising because you're too tired and it makes you nauseous when you exercise, and then we get your gut and your food situation figured out and you have more energy, do you know what you'll probably start doing? Exercising, because it feels good. So a lot of us live in this culture of condemnation and negative, and what we really need to be looking at is grace and gentleness and filling up and positivity, not in a like, I'm fine. I think of the Lego movie, right? The happy kitty of like, I'm happy. And she clearly needs to be mad and upset. Correct emotions have very important places in our world. But positivity meaning looking at what is happening instead of going, oh my goodness, I'm such a failure. I did it again. I failed again. It's January 10th again, and I already failed all my things. How about instead, just don't do that. And you go, this year intention, I know it's way far away from January, but this year's intention or tomorrow's intention, you don't have to wait till a special day, is I want to figure out why I scroll Facebook. I want to notice. You don't have to change it. You can stay on Facebook. Why don't you notice why you got there? What happened right before you picked up your phone and started scrolling? What emotion did you feel? What situation happened? If you know this problem, you as a human brain is going to start working on a solution to fix it. It's a really cool thing about us as people. Most of the time, we haven't found a solution to a problem because we don't actually know what the problem is yet. And we don't know what the problem is because we have ample mind-numbing things at our fingertip. I am, in many ways, jealous of old times. But in this, I am especially jealous because while you can lose yourself in a book, it's not the same as watching Netflix or YouTube channel. I know. Because if I really need to not think and I start reading a book, do you know what I do? I think. The characters remind me of something, the situation, there's an emotion that comes. But when you are not in charge and you're watching a movie, it keeps moving. You move past that emotion and you don't have to be there, or you just fast forward through it too, right? So we can skip things. We have Facebook, we have distractions, we have music, we have things that we can do all the time. Back in the old days, they could distract themselves, but only to a limited effect, right? So much less. So I'm a bit jealous about that. But we can create that environment. Number one, by creating the environment of noticing, when do I go to XYZ mind-numbing thing? How did I feel before? How am I feeling now? Is it helping? If it's helping, it's okay. Because it's okay to be happy and calm and peaceful. Now, it would be better to get that from a good book, a conversation, a warm hug, feeling accomplished at a goal. That's our goal, right? So you have two choices. You could stay on Facebook and get what you can from the scrapings of the dish, or, you could do some harder work to change the equation and get to where you are content and happy because you are content and happy. Get your neurotransmitters firing so that you actually do get a dopamine hit when you look at a project and go, I did a good job, instead of only getting a dopamine hit from something really extreme that only comes once in a while and you pay a lot of money for, like Disneyland roller coasters or something like that, right? You can't go to Disneyland every day. You can't feel that good every day. You can't skydive every day to get an adrenaline hit. Maybe for some people, it works for you to run every day, which is fine. Unless your body crashes for like 5 days afterwards, then it's good to feed your body, right? So I digress. Sorry. The main thing is it's very helpful for you to figure out what is your body lacking and can I help it? Instead of yelling at yourself for doing things the way you're doing them. It's going to take a lot longer to fix the base of it, but it's so worth it. And when it changes, I've had some situations both with parts work and with TPM in which that lie-based belief, a major lie-based belief, changed. It changed everything. There were habits that I struggled with that just were done. In that situation, that's still my go-to, like scrolling or Netflix or YouTube or whatever your go-to is still going to be your go-to when there's pain, but the pain or the need to feel and feel better is so much less often. So it happens so much less. I don't have to 100 times a day, I'm making up numbers, 100 times a day not scroll Facebook. I now only have to not scroll Facebook 20 times a day or 10 times a day because I don't get triggered 100 times a day anymore. I only get triggered 20 times a day. And then only 20 times you make a choice. And the rest of the time you are free to do what you want to do. You are free to be productive. You are free to be active. You are free to be giving and generous and loving and kind because you don't have to fight that addiction, that behavior, that cover up, that fire hose to cover up that pain fire. You don't have to do that anymore when it's been healed. So it takes a lot of time. Some of us have more hurts than others, depending on how we grew up, how sensitive emotionally we were, how good adults around us were at explaining things, how hard of a life you've had since being an adult, what deficiencies you had, what your gut lining looks like, what your neurotransmitter balance is. Are your hormones out of balance? Do you already have problems? So smoking pot, for example, gives you some nice stuff, but it hurts your gut flora. So if you have a pot addiction, it also will hurt your flora, which actually makes more problems that you now have to fix, right? So some things are more detrimental than others. Some things are easier to quit than others. Some things have a higher addictive quality, like pornography has an incredibly high addictive quality. There's really strong hormones released there. That's a lot more than Facebook, which isn't even that great of a hormone. That's a little bit of dopamine, right? And a lot of stress that we don't like. So it's a lot easier to give up Facebook than pornography because of the strength and what physically happens and the emotional fire outputting properties. So it all makes sense. So my goal for you today is to understand that every behavior we do that you're frustrated. I say this in addictions, but do you see how it's everything? Every behavior you do that you can't change, there's a reason you're doing it. Find out the reason and change it put energy towards changing it, not towards the willpower of resisting it, but put it towards the base, and that is going to make change. So I would love to help you out with that. You can work with me. You can work with Holly as well. Haven't talked about her a lot, but Holly does a lot of our GAPS stuff. She's an amazing practitioner, very knowledgeable about the body and about GAPS. So there's both of us to work through. There's lots of resources. I will put a link to the Transformational Prayer Ministry and Internal Family Systems websites. So that would be super helpful for you, hopefully. So those are going to be good. TPM, I'll try to link to the thing, but there's like before your first session or something like that, there's like an hour video that really goes through a lot of what it is. IFS, there's a book called You Are the One You've Been Waiting For that I really like. We actually do that here locally as a book club where we kind of read through the chapters and then talk about it and then practice a little bit of talking to your parts. It sounds weird without explanation, but it's a thing. We say it all the time. Part of me wants to do that and part of me knows I shouldn't. It's how it works. It's just the duplicity of normal people, the id, the ego, the superego. Like all major philosophers understand that there are multiple parts in us that make up our whole in a normal, healthy person. So there's that. So we work on that. I am potentially open for doing a distance book club. If there's enough people to kind of start up a group, I have a few people interested, but not quite enough yet for a forum here. So that is potentially there. So anyway, love to help you out personally, but please share this. This is such an important message to people, to understand that what they're doing is not because they're lazy or because they want to be fat or they want to be addicted to XYZ things. There is reasonable, logical reasons for everything, and we need to and can address the root of that, and then the behavior changes. Willpower only gets us so far, but changing the situation, you don't even have to have willpower many times. So, all right, that is it. I don't know if we're still going live on chat, but if you have and would like to try typing in a question to chat, I can see it on my phone. So go ahead and I'll give you just a second to do that. If you would like to support our educational endeavors, we have a donate button on our website, bewellclinic.net/events. That just is a square space that you can put $1 to $100 or $1,000. It's not limited. No, just kidding. I mean, you can, but it's fine. That just helps have some kind of support for this time. But I love to teach. I want to get these messages out. So no pressure on that. Okay, I see no questions coming in. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the, okay. It's a thank you. Thank yous are coming in. Great. Perfect. I think that is it then. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for future classes. I have some ideas. I am debating whether I'm going to do any in October because I'm feeling like I maybe need to take some time and not be so busy. So we shall see. I have 2 topics that I'm teaching next month. Watch for our newsletter. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, definitely get a newsletter. And, invitation. You're welcome for the invitation. So get on our newsletter. Mostly we just send one out right at the end of the month for the next month's classes or really important things coming up. So do get on that and look at that. We have some announcements coming up in the near-ish future, which will be pretty exciting, so you don't want to miss those. So definitely jump on there. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate having real people to talk to, and this was fun actually to look at my phone and stuff, but watch me teach. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. Please share this, and you can like and subscribe if you haven't. All right. Have a good night. Bye.